of the world, now I'm living. And the good just gets better, keeps on giving. Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for joining me. It's Ann Perry. Today we're going to be talking about how does the karmic debt number 16/7 affect a master number 11. Each one of us has the potential to have a karmic debt. Not everybody has karmic debts, but each one of us has the potential to have a karmic debt either in their core numbers or somewhere within their chart. So let's go and find out how this karmic debt will affect you if you happen to be a master number 11. So let's talk firstly about what the heck is a karmic debt anyways, right? So karmic numbers include the number 13, 14, 16, and 19. So the karmic debt can also be referred to as a teaching number, a testing number, a warning number, hidden number. There's all kinds of different ways to refer to a karmic debt number. But at the end of the day, the karmic debt number indicates that you were a badass in a previous lifetime and you were coming back to pay back for bad behavior in a previous lifetime. So when you see one of these numbers show up as a core number, it's an indication that you're working with issues from the past, and it tells me right away that you're an old soul. Okay, you've had a few times around the block here on Earth. You got a few t-shirts, you've been here and done that. So it indicates that this is a soul who has been here more than once. Now, karmic debts also hold a bigger punch than karmic lessons do. The difference between a karmic debt and a karmic lesson is that karmic debts are specifically indicated by 13, 14, 16, or 19, whereas the karmic lessons relate to missing letters in your full birth name. If you're curious about that, I have a video on how do I know if I have a karmic lesson or not. You can check that out on YouTube. I'll post the link down below. So where can a karmic debt show up in your chart? Well, it can show up in your expression number. Now remember, the expression number indicates our talents and our gifts that we've chosen to bring with us to help us on the journey of our life purpose, our life path number. And it's calculated from the full birth name on your birth certificate. So once we assign numeric value to each name on your birth certificate, we reduce each name down to a single number or a master number, and then we add all of those reduced numbers together. It will come up with your expression number. And if it comes up as a 13, 14, 19, or 16, then we know that we're dealing with a karmic debt. The heart's desire indicates our passions. A karmic debt can show up there too, and it's calculated from the vowels of your full birth name on your birth certificate. Your birthday number, if you were simply, in this case, born on the 16th day, then we know that we're dealing with somebody with a 16 karmic debt. Likewise, 13, 14, 16 or 19. If you're born in any of those days, it indicates that you are bringing back a karmic debt to work on. Essences, cycles that affect how you go through your personal year, derived from your birth name. There can be cycles that have karmic debts attached to them. So there's all kinds of places that a karmic debt can show up. It's not just in your core numbers. So here's an example of a karmic debt showing up in this particular name. So we've got Jonathan Lass. So when we add up all of the letters, numeric value, we use our Pythagorean chart over here, we know that J vibrates at the vibration of the number 1. So we've got the 1 here. The O vibrates at the number 6 vibration. The N vibrates at the 5 vibration, so on and so forth. So you're just going to add numeric value to each one of the letters in your first name. If you had a middle name, you'd do the same. It doesn't matter how many names you have, you just keep breaking them down independently. And then the last name in this case is Lass, and we know that when we add 3 plus 1 plus 1, it equals to 5. So now you're going to add the reduced numbers. In the case of Jonathan, his name actually came up as a 29. We add 2 and 9 together, it comes up as an 11. So we're going to leave it as that, okay, because the 11 is a master number. We're not going to reduce it. So we're now going to add 11 to the totality of his last name, which is a 5, and that will come up as a 16/7 karmic debt. Okay. Likewise, if we were looking at the heart's desire, we know that we're just going to be looking at the vowels in the name. So this guy's name is Ed. We know that the only vowel in his first name is an E, which vibrates at the 5. Walilu comes up as an 11. Once again, we're not going to reduce the 11. So 11 plus 5 equals 16/7. Or the person could have been born on July 16th. Okay, any month for that matter, but the 16th day, if you're born on the 16th day, it indicates that the karmic debt of the 16 is at play in your chart. So what exactly is the karmic debt of the 16-7? Well, this one's kind of dear to my heart because my life path number is a 16-7. So I know that I'm working on my 16-7 karmic issues, my bad behavior from a previous lifetime. So when the 16 is one of the core numbers, this process of destruction and rebirth, we call it affectionately, we call it crash, burn, and learn, is a continuous cycle that actually serves to bring you into higher consciousness. Yeah, it's been doing that for sure. The karmic debt can be a path of progress and great spiritual growth. Absolutely. Remember, the 7 is all about learning how to trust in the divine. It's all about learning how to surrender. It's basically learning how to connect to a force bigger than yourself, right? It can be a very painful process because it usually comes after much ego inflation. Life presents challenges to your grand plans, and you tend to make choices that seem specifically designed to break down what you've previously built. So if you think of the tarot card, the Tower, it's the number 16. The Tower should be standing like this on its foundation, but it's not. It's coming down, okay? And so the Tower is in flames, and everybody who's on the Tower is jumping to their death. So it's a really kind of a scary looking card. But really what it means is that your foundation has been pulled from underneath you. And this is kind of what happens to people with the 16-7 karmic debt. And I'm talking in generality here right now. I'm not talking about specific to the 11s. But generally, when you have a 16-7, it means that your life is going to get blown up a couple of times. And usually by your own doing. Okay, it's not typical that the 16-7 has things happening to them. Usually they are the ones that start the fire, so to speak. Okay, so the 16-7 has a tendency to leave relationships. Okay, they'll blow their relationship up and move on to the next one, or they'll blow up their careers or their education or whatever, right? So it is a crash, burn, and learn kind of a process, but every time you go through it, you're so much better for having gone through it. It's possibly a self-destructive career choice, or maybe an act of stupidity that ruins an otherwise wonderful relationship is an example of how the 16-7 can work. It's always about the rise and the fall. It's always at a time when you think that you know it all, that you got it all. The 7 is a head case number, right? It causes us to be inside our head. So we're thinking. Well, what lives inside our head? Our ego lives inside our heads, right? So when our ego has been driving the bus a little too long, sometimes we get bitch slapped by the universe. There you go, right? You think you know how to drive the bus? Okay, let's see how that works out for you. And it leaves you in the rubble, right? So you have to kind of dust yourself off. We're kind of like the rising of the phoenix every time. But at the end of the day, the 16-7 karmic debt comes from the fact that in a previous lifetime, we've had affairs of the heart. Okay, this means that we cheated on our lovers, we cheated on our spouses, we weren't very faithful, we caused people not to trust us. Okay, we broke trust with people. So how does that translate into this lifetime? Well, it can be that you're attracting people, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, whatever. You could be attracting them who just don't trust you. Maybe they're just the kind of people who just don't trust anybody, for that matter. So they're suspicious, right? And they want to know where you've been. Why didn't you text me? Why didn't you call me? That sort of thing. You could be attracting that kind of person. You could be that kind of person. Okay, you could be the person that all of a sudden is very suspicious. Okay, you might attract people to you who just for whatever reason just don't trust you. And half the time it's because the 16-7, those of us who have the 16-7 in our charts, we're not the best communicators because we're head cases. We're in here all the time. We're thinking, and we figure everybody should be up to speed with whatever it is we're thinking about. But obviously that's not the case. So we leave people kind of questioning our motives and questioning our agendas and questioning our integrity and our honesty and such. And it really just comes from the fact that we don't always communicate the best. So people are left kind of wondering, what the heck was that all about? One thing that's very common, though, with the 16-7 is that typically the 16-7 is the one that, blows up their world. It's kind of like, there goes the relationship, there goes the marriage, there goes the whatever, the foundation that you had. We have a tendency to be the ones that blow it up. But always on the outside, everybody's looking at us going, what did she do now? Like, holy, I didn't expect that. I didn't know that the relationship was in trouble like that. I didn't know she hated her career or her boss. I didn't know, all that kind of stuff. So it really causes people to be caught off guard by our actions, which cause them not to trust us because they don't know what's coming from us next. Okay, so maybe you can relate to that a little bit if you have the 16-7 in your chart. So how can the 16-7 affect the 11s specifically, which is the topic of the hour? Well, the 16-7 can often include failed relationships, and it's very tough on the 11s to go through failed relationships because they need partnership, right? The 11 is a 2. The 2s need partnership. So 11s need to be reminded that this is a necessary part of the evolution, reminded that there are contracts that exist between each relationship, and sometimes they're up, sometimes they don't last a lifetime. And if they're up, it's because they're meant to be up and we're meant to go on to the next one, right? So we always have to understand that the divine, if we will trust, remember the 7 is all about trusting, if we will trust in the divine, we always know that whatever happens is happening for our highest good. So, and always when we go through this crash, burn, and learn experience, we're always better off having experienced the effects of the 16-7. The 1 in the 16-7, remember these are sub-lessons, right? The 1 and the 6. So the 1 in here produces yet another need for confidence and independence and getting in touch with our creative potential and whatnot, just like the double 1 intensity of the 11. Right? You guys are plagued with that already. And when we bring in the 16-7, it's another healthy dose of, come on, let's get with the program, become the leader, become confident, become successful. So that's always there. The other thing that comes in, the 6, as we look at 6 here, produces more perfectionistic energy, which the 11s already battle with. You guys already keep the bar a little too high. So the 6 energy has a tendency to set the bar a little too high, not just for ourselves, but also for everybody else around us too. The 6 brings in sort of an idealistic point of view, especially as it pertains to the family. The 6 energy really relates to the family. And quite often if the 16-7 is at play in your chart, you have trouble risking maybe leaving your job in favor of another job because you're terrified of what that implication might lead to for your family. What happens if I lose my job and I don't make enough money to support my family? That sort of thing can come into play as well with the 16-7. The 6 does bring in the need for perfectionism, as does the 11. The 11 is drawing from an older soul. It's drawing from previous existing cellular memory. Okay, so you're tapping into previous lifetimes. But the 6 overall in here relates to responsibility. How much of this is really my responsibility? Can't somebody else do this? Can't my sister do this? Can't my brother do this? Can't they take care of my parents once and for all? That sort of thing. You might get a little bit ticked off about that sort of thing, but remembering that sometimes we're the ones that step in a little too quickly to be the ones that take care of everybody else. So moderation in all things, which brings in the next component, which says the 6 also brings in a bigger need for balance in all things. You can't be all things to all people. You can't be the one that is always responsible for your family all the time. You need to know when to step in and when to step back out. The 7 says, I want to be alone, but the 11 says, but I need partnership. Right? So sometimes there's a bit of a contradiction going on there where you're feeling a little bit stressed out because you're really not sure what you want. So the 7 is a head case number. Remember, the 7 is where the wheels are churning all the time. Second guessing. So it doesn't do a whole lot for your self-esteem. Okay. But how can the 11 lessen the effects of the 16-7? So how can we use this to our advantage? The 16-7 asks us to place more importance on communicating more effectively. One of the largest complaints I hear from 11s is that they feel like they don't fit in. People just don't understand me. They don't get me. They just don't resonate with me. They just don't understand me. Well, put in another 16-7 there, and those same people are standing outside going, I don't know what's going to come out of their mouth next. I don't know what she's going to do next. I'm not really sure what her agenda is, So they're a little bit cautious. So those of us who have 16-7s in our charts have to spend a little bit more time carefully sharing what we're feeling, okay? Communicating what we're feeling. Don't assume that people know what you're thinking just because that's where you live, right? The 16-7 lives inside here. They have a hard time getting to here, to the heart. So sometimes they have a hard time sharing themselves. The 16-7 sometimes is reluctant to show 100% of themselves. They're a little bit resistant to let their guard down enough to let you in, okay? Which makes other people on the outside feel a little bit uncomfortable at times. So we have to work a little bit harder to express what we're feeling so that people will understand us and will trust us, right? So the 7, as I said before, is a head case number. So we need to work really hard on connecting with our hearts. And one of the things that I've been encouraged to do is to stop saying I think this in favor of saying I feel this. Okay, it's really helpful if you can start saying I feel this or I feel that, because it causes you to stop long enough to really think about how you feel, right? So maybe you can express yourself a little bit more genuinely, a little bit more authentically. Every time those with the 16-7 crash and burn, they're always much better for having had the fall. So we need to remember that. Again, comes in the need for trust. Trust that the fall is within your best interest. The greatest lesson of the 16-7 is to step away from the ego, that voice inside your head that says you're not smart enough, tall enough, good enough, whatever, enough. We need to learn to trust that spirit is driving the bus and can drive the bus and will drive the bus much better than we do. Surrender to the process. Understand that life is not happening to you. Life is happening through you. That's it. I hope that you were able to gain some good information today if you happen to have the 16-7 karmic debt in your chart and you are a master number 11. So you're welcome to contact me with any questions you might have. I'm AnnPerryNumerologist.com. I also have some courses on Udemy.com. I've got my Facebook group for Master Number 11s called the Master Number 11 Portal. If you have not joined it, why not? Check it out. We're a great bunch of people in there. There's a whole bunch of 11s all under one roof. We've also got the Master Number 11 membership, $11 a month. It's less than a coffee a week. Okay, so you might want to check that out. New videos, new opportunities. Every single month you have the opportunity to connect with my guest speaker as well as myself live. So would love to connect with you guys. Anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. If you've got any questions, post them down below. Happy to answer them for you. Hoping that you're having a great day and that I will see you in the next video. Take care for now. Bye.